Hi sunshines! This is example 1 on rotating a segment using a protractor. So we're going to rotate segment RI around point T 45 degrees. So remember that a positive rotation goes counterclockwise. So we're going to go counterclockwise. So step 1 is that we need to form the angle. So we're going to connect the pre-image point to the center. So we're going to connect point R to point T. And then we're going to measure the degrees of rotation and draw a ray coming out of point T. So we want to measure 45 degrees. So we're going to take our protractor. I'm using a paper protractor here, so I can physically just fold it to make a 45-degree angle that I can trace. So to measure that angle out on the paper, we line up so that the center of our protractor is on the center of rotation. So that's the vertex of our 45-degree angle. So we line up. So we've got segment TR over here. And then on this side is going to be our 45-degree angle coming out of T. And so I'm just going to trace along my protractor edge to make that ray. Step 2, now I have my 45-degree angle. So this green angle here is a 45-degree angle. Now I'm going to measure the distance. So first I'm going to measure segment TR, that distance. So we can use a ruler and measure it as an actual number. So it's about 1 unit long, or you can use any scrap of paper or a compass to measure out, because all we're doing is matching. We don't need to know the value of that distance. We can actually just match it. So we want to match the same distance going from point T down that image ray. So we can plot that point on here. So that distance, so this point is the same distance away from T as segment R was. So measuring it using the ruler, it's 1 unit away. But you don't even need a numerical value. You can measure it just by matching the distance. So now we're going to label. So our new point is going to be named, we rotated point R, so we're going to name it R prime. You take the same letter, but you add this little prime mark to show that it's the new point, that it's the image point after the rotation. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other point. We're just going to repeat those steps. So we're going to go back up to step 1. We're going to connect point I and point T. Then we're going to measure. Remember, if you're using a protractor like this, you want to make sure that the actual center of the protractor is on the edge of your paper. And then we're going to measure our 45-degree angle again. So this new ray, we're going to have to go longer because this is much farther away. We want to make sure we draw the ray so that it's farther. This is another 45-degree angle. So now I have my image ray. So now I can measure the distance. So again, as units, I could measure it with the ruler and say that it is 2 3/8 units, or I can just measure the distance and say it goes to here. And then copy that distance over and say it goes to here. So that's still 2 3/8. I got the same distance. I have the same measurement if I want to do it using measurements, but I don't even need to use measurements. So now I'm going to name that I prime. And then now that I have both of my points, I'm going to connect the dots to draw the whole figure. Using my handy pen as a straight edge. So now I rotated segment RI 45 degrees. So now I have segment RI, R prime, I prime. And that's how we do our rotation.